Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome everyone to the Poised for Exit podcast show. Our guest today is the owner and president of a construction site tool and safety equipment company. She's also a recent successor to the family business, so stay with us for this interview.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, certified exit planning advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Thinking about selling your business in the next few years? Don't wait to start planning. I've seen too many business owners wait too long and regret it. Freedom Financial Partners are financial advisors who specialize in exit planning for business owners, helping you reduce tax surprises, protect what you've built, and quantify how much you need from the sale. Their proven process helps you think beyond your business so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The longer you wait, the fewer options you may have. Download your free financial readiness assessment today at ffpforme.com/exit. That's ffpforme.com/exit.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Erika Scherman, who is the owner and president of MC Tool and Safety. Erika, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Thanks so much for having me today.
So glad you could be here. Super interesting stories that you're going to be sharing today. What a journey. Lots of interesting, details about your work, your background, the company, the services you provide. So we're going to try and pack it all in. But before we get started with all of that, I always like to have my guests just share your background. How did you get here? Here you are in the family business. How did you find yourself there?
Well, it was never on my radar. My dad and his good friend, Terry McClellan, started the company in 2002 after many years in the industry. And they're like, hey, let's go try this on our own. And over the years, I'd been looking for work and wasn't really a thing to go work at the company. But as they approached retirement age, they were trying to find ways to exit. And they decided that it was going to be the best to find somebody to kind of continue that on. And my dad wanted to work for a little while longer. So I bought Terry McClellan out in 2018. And actually, I don't remember I think it was 18. I think it was January of 18.
Wow.
Figures I'll go and run in together. But I had a full career in beer, but it was always distribution. So it wasn't that far off. And my dad's like, I don't have a retirement plan and I'd love to work with you again, because we did work together at Lexmark when I was first starting my career adventure. And I, kind of looked into it and thought that he and Terry really worked hard and really built this great company that was service oriented. And in a world where the big guys, the Home Depots of the world are trying to take over, or the, Amazons, they had a really unique model, and we've just continued to grow that. So I was lucky enough to be able to step in and add my beer marketing adventures to it.
But think of all that you learned, right?
Exactly.
I bet every party you go to, people are asking you different questions about beer and all
Yes,
that, right? Yeah.
especially when I just bought the company, and I was kind of fresh out of beer. Now I'm like, I don't know, that whole industry's changed with the
It's changed,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
All the
But
microbreweries.
yeah.
Sure. So before we get into some of the client stories and other juicy things, I'd like to have you just share with our listeners something like the company itself, the services, the things you talked about service a lot. And I know that's in your name because you are in the service business, especially when it comes to safety, which is so paramount. But share with our listeners about the company. That'd be great.
Yeah. So we sell to construction companies, so big GCs, and then specialty contractors and municipalities. So the state and the county and cities around the metro area here. And we primarily stay within about an hour and a half of the Twin Cities area because
Mhm.
that allows us to give the best service. We're really hands-on. People come in, and I think if you ever walk into our store, we walk the back warehouse with you so you can shop off the shelves and kind of see what we've got. And I think that's a differentiator. And we really want to know your name when you walk in. I did come from the beer industry, and man, those bars, and that's where I sold. And when you walk in and everybody knows who you are, or the regulars, or even if you only stop in once a month and they still know your name, I mean, that's a thing. And I want
Yes.
people to come in here and have that same experience. I want them to want to come back. I want to know how their kids are doing. I want to know, how their mom, how their dad are doing. And when you talk about what brings meaning to this, and you talk about safety. So tools are great and they're sexy and they're fun. Everybody wants the latest Milwaukee or the brand new Bosch hammer drill, but
Sure.
that not so sexy fall protection that you have to wear, or everybody gets all up in arms about the new helmets. Well, you know what? Those helmets and those safety glasses are going to bring you home with all your hands and your feet intact and your eyes still working and your
Right.
hearing still there, so you can hear that grandbaby cry. And just I could choke up on it. When I just started, I was like, what's going to give me my fire for this business, right? Coming from the beer industry, which is super fun. Tools was new and I didn't know it, but man, I had babies. I want to get home to those babies. I want
Yes.
those babies to get home to their parents. That's a thing. And we can
Yes,
help
it
with that.
is. Yes, for sure. And I think that all of us can recall a story at some point in our lives when people weren't protecting themselves in whatever situation they were in and they got hurt or they died or got a brain injury or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Especially when it's preventable. If you have glasses
exactly.
on, it's just, you can keep your eyes. You can
You
see
can
your
keep
babies.
your eye. Yes. So you stepped into this industry that you're not familiar with, and now you're the owner.
I
So let's
am.
talk about that.
Oh man, the first week when I owned it, and people are like, what do I do with this abrasive? Or how do I work this tool? And I was like, I have no idea. But if you want to talk ABV and hops and barley, I can do that. So and to this day still, I said, I don't know, but I can find out. I have the people behind me that I can find out. So tell me what you need. Let's dive into your problem. And then I can come back to you with the people or the information needed to find that tool or that piece of equipment that will make your job site safer. So it was an adventure, but definitely a good conversation starter. Why'd you leave the beer industry? Everybody loves it, and the beer industry was actually really cutthroat at the time, especially in the bar side with all the new
Yeah,
breweries coming out and all those
I
tap
bet.
lines. So it gave me the right tools to come into this industry, which is similar. Everybody can sell what I'm selling, but I have to sell my company and what we do, which I think is the challenge. And in the world of social media and everything else, these small businesses are in a different playing field. I don't want to say disadvantage because I think we can be nimble and be more fun and have a lot of really good interactions online, but it takes a lot of work, a lot of time.
It does. But like you said before in the beginning of the interview about service and about wanting to know names of people, at the end of the day, Erica, human beings are human beings and we are relational creatures.
I agree.
And right.
100%.
And so there's no amount of technology or automation that can replace the need that we have for human interaction. And that, our word matters, what we have to say matters, our needs matter, and you're providing, a solution, right, to those needs. And when it comes to safety, I mean, that hits the heart.
Right. You can't
Right.
buy that
Yeah.
knowledge online. You can't read all about it. You need people that have done it, that sell it,
Yes.
that know it.
And you do the training too, right?
We don't particularly do the training, but I have manufacturers that will come in and do some, kind of best practices, or we can do some paid trainings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you collaborate on that. I guess that's what
Yeah.
I meant. I know that's not your forte, but you have the equipment and you can teach people how to use it and what they need, right, for certain situations.
Yes. And I think what we offer that some of the bigger stores don't is you can come in and try on the safety equipment and we can fit you for it, where I might
Perfect.
not be able to train you to be a fall protection competent person, but man, I can put you in the right size harness with the right lanyard, with the right, anchorage. So there's a lot of things that we can do the big guys can't.
Well, especially if you're buying it online, how would you even know? It's like buying a pair of shoes online and hoping that they fit when you get them,
Exactly.
right? So let's talk a little bit about some customer situations that you've been in and ways you've been able to solve some problems and basically save the day.
Yeah. So my favorite one, a few years back, there was a complex that was housing some homeless folks and it burned down like Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve. So
Okay.
that Saturday, I met my customer and their safety guy at my office. I don't live too far from here and I'm just a phone call away. My cell phone is always on. So I met him here and they were able to start that demolition on Saturday to make sure that nobody was in there and that nobody was going to get hurt if that structure fell. That was really the big thing. And then they were able to start, working on rebuilding that complex right away. So that was
Wow.
my favorites.
Yeah, no kidding. On Christmas.
Yeah. So I can't remember if it was the day before Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve, but it was right there.
Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing story. So you talked earlier about being a smaller business and sometimes it can be rather challenging. What would you say is maybe the most challenging for distributors of your size in today's market?
Well, I think everybody in our office wears multiple hats.
Sure.
So dividing your time between where those hats lie.
Yeah.
And I find that while the marketing can come, to me, making sure that the customer is taken care of first. So I have to do the ordering and I have to do the, restocks or training for the new people and that kind of thing comes first. And so how do you grow when you're kind of stuck in that, minutia of just taking care of the people that you need to take care of so that the business survives? So I think for me, what I've learned in the last 2 years with some people changes around here and hiring different positions to what we had before that, I really have to time block, I really have to take it. And this is my time for marketing. This is my time for purchasing. This is my time for meeting rather than just saying yes to everything because I don't have that many hours.
Right.
I talked a little bit about work-life balance. I work 8 to 9 hours a day and then I'm done. I got my other life to lead, work's great, but I got more to do.
Yeah, definitely. So I know we didn't talk about this before when we met about the show, but I'm wondering about your use of automation and how you're using it now and how you maybe foresee yourself using it in the future to help you save time.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that. So what we're doing, if you talk about big business versus small business, so the Amazon effect is that your website's supposed to be perfect now, right? Or pretty close. Well, that is monumentally my biggest challenge. I'm on my third or fourth e-commerce site, and having the e-commerce talk to my platform has been hard. AI is helping with some of that. So we're hiring an outside person to help us fill with the categories and make sure that the product information is correct. So we're utilizing AI there, or he is. And then in turn, what we'll do is utilize some of the AI tools that are out there for our website. We're on Shopify. And so their collaboration with some AI people is pretty fun. And then having that ability for a chat bot or something for you to help navigate the website, we're looking into that. But I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from it is that I don't think you can jump into it and say, I want this tool, I'm going to try it without having the backside of your information or all of that data right. Because if somebody's on there with that chatbot, that might be new and shiny and cool, but they're getting the wrong information, that's in safety in particular, that's detrimental. So I think
Ah,
the biggest thing we've done is make a plan for it, knowing that our company will benefit from it.
that is brilliant. And I could not agree with you more. Like I'm a partner in an AI company and we create custom AI for private companies. One of our biggest use cases is building a knowledge center so that SOPs are actually documented. Anybody in the company can work with the AI coach when they have a question about something. So it's great for training and, key people and IP and all of that kind of stuff. But the fact that you're using it and understanding that you have to have a plan first is the reason why so many of these, and get the people on board, right? So the bigger companies that are spending millions on it right now are using it as patchwork and telling people they have to use it, and the buy-in's not there, and so they can't figure out why it isn't working, and that's why it's not working.
Yeah.
So you are
No.
doing it exactly the way I think, that way the firm that I work with anyway advises. Figure
Yeah.
out your use cases, figure out, what the plan is. Don't use it as a band-aid, man.
Well, and then vet out the companies, because I bet I get 2 calls. It was worse at the beginning of the year, but I bet I get 2 calls a week that are like, "Oh, I have this AI thing for you," and I'm out of Toronto. It's me and my buddy, and
Yeah.
it'll save you. It'll save you 100 hours. I go, 100 hours of what? How do I know you're the right one? And I get you need a sales pitch, but man, can't put that cart before the horse. You really can't. You gotta have your stuff in order so that those tools work to your advantage.
Yeah. And have the people on board and not fearful that their job is going to be taken away either, right?
Exactly.
Because we
Exactly.
need the people. We're not trying to get rid of the people. We just want to help optimize their time. So I love that you're diving into that so intelligently.
Thank you.
So let's talk about what the surprising things. So before, when you were in the beer business, of course, you had lots of customers and you were all over the place and you had some autonomy, just like you do now, but maybe you had more time then than you do now, right? And the buck stops with you.
Right. I think,
So,
oh, I think the stress of business ownership is something that you have to learn how to manage. And I think that was something I wasn't prepared for. I truly believe that I have the best customers and they take some of that stress away. But when you're
mm,
talking about, the markets turning and tariffs going up and, you know, whomever is starting their new online. So the big guys have other companies that are online companies, or so that they're going after a price point. Well, then, my customers want us to price match. So I think some of that stress and managing where and how you're going to use that stress to your advantage, or how you can let some of that go so that you can come back to work the next day, or, get more than 3.5 hours of sleep. That sometimes is really nice.
that can be helpful for your immune system too.
It is.
And your creativity and all the things. Yeah, I was a business owner for most of my adult life before I started consulting 13 years ago. And I would agree 100%. And we didn't have near the technology then that is available now, that's for sure. So there was a lot of manual work and a lot of mistakes and all of that you're right. So
Absolutely.
you're managing some big changes. You've already talked about some of that as a small business trying to compete. But at the same time, you can offer, like you said before, the nimbleness of being a smaller business. You can change quicker, right? You don't have to run it up the ladder 5 or 6 levels or however many. You're the primary decision maker. So tell me how you're managing that. Like you said, you were managing your time, but have you got like some good like planning, like roadmaps, like strategic planning and leadership that you can rely on for some of this stuff?
So that's what I've been working on. Knowing, so my dad retired just over a week ago. So now
Wow.
I know,
Congratulations,
right?
Dad.
Yeah. So he's kind of on retainer for the remainder of the year, and then we'll do a little party for him. But I've been working to get enough people in place with the right skill set to navigate the fact that we're going to lose some of that industry knowledge and have it at our fingertips daily. So, if you go back to a lot of the books, the attractions of the world or whatever other adventurous formats they've put out there, we're trying to get the right people in the right seats so that we can grow. And I think that, you talk in your books too about the financial security. So I started there. I worked with, I nabbed a CFO who's a good friend of mine, and really started on that finance side and saying, okay, what's our model look like? How do we make it so that we can sustain? How do we make it so we can grow? And then where do we fill in the rest of that? So I just think from, learning from what you've put out there too, is like, what's my exit plan, right? So my kids are growing up and it's a day-to-day grind here. So how do we make it so it's either I can buy somebody else or somebody can buy us or however that looks, but what is that plan? So I've hired people to implement some of the strategies that you do talk about in your books, because I think having those actionable tools, having some of that financial security and that framework to make sure the company is healthy,
Yes.
that has been a challenge and a really fun way to approach it. And the first 5 years, I didn't approach it that way. So coming at that from the last 3 years has been I don't want to say game changer yet, but I'm hoping a game changer soon.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Super smart though, you can't really start out with that when you first come into a new role because you don't know what you don't know. And so you really needed to get your wheels under you first, right? Before you
Yeah.
could go, okay, now I know what I'm facing. I know what I want. I know what, everyone's role is. I know where the gaps are. Let's figure out how to fill the gaps and, send this, into a decent trajectory, which sounds like you're doing. So that's fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Mhm.
Trying.
Absolutely. So dad just retired, you said,
Yeah.
and I've been in business partnerships a few times in my life, and I'm sure that wasn't easy for you. Do you have any other partners besides him?
At this point, no. We've been kind of looking at maybe an ESOP or having a different, uh, maybe, I don't know. We're pretty small. So some of it is that I don't, I like making the decisions. I like not having any opposition to that sometimes, but there's advantages to having business partners. So tax breaks or tax burden relief or something along those lines, other people that are in it, and can't walk away. That's a big thing when you're a small business. So there's some plans, maybe in the future to see where that goes. But right now it's 100% mine and see how that works
I
going
think it's
forward.
great. Yeah, you'll know when you're ready. I'm just thinking about all the years that I owned companies and I had partners. And then when I started consulting, I just chose to be a solo act because I was just done with employees and done with partners. And everybody who works for me is a contractor, and that's still the case. But after 13 years now, I am in a new partnership, and I was really careful about like, is this right for me? Are they right for me? Am I right for them? Right?
Yeah.
And while there's no perfect situation, I feel like I finally, in my 60s, finally figured out how to go about doing that. So, yeah, but you know what? It's not like vital, right, to your success. It has to be right, it has to make sense. And, like you said before, it's like a marriage, only I think it's harder than marriage. I really do.
Yeah. I think, Terry McClellan, when I bought the company, he goes, and he'd owned a few companies leading up to this one. And he's like, I'll never not be majority owner again. I'll never. So he's like, that's my advice to you. If this is yours and it's your baby now, he's like, you own majority stake. You have, the final vote and you decide your fate. Don't be on the ride just to be on the ride. And my dad was never the one that wanted to be a business owner. So having Terry there as another mentor and he's another dad to me. I've known him since I was born.
Mm.
But I think having that advice and then still having the ability to go back to Terry and to talk to my dad and, how lucky am I that they're still willing and able to help. So,
Great to have those people to lean on for sure. And
yeah.
really great advice on the majority ownership.
Yeah.
So many times it's 50-50, which is really tough when there's a conflict.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, cool. I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
If you could speak to your younger self, Erika, what advice would you give her from what you know today?
I would have taken these bigger chances, yeah, when I was younger.
Mm,
I think my husband and I played it really safe when the kids were little, but I would have done bigger things. When I was in the beer industry, there weren't very many women in the industry, and I asked a lot of questions, and I got a lot of flack for that. And I was pretty strong. I mean,
yeah.
I'm pretty sassy anyways. And I just kind of said, shut up. I don't know it. I need to know it. But I would have been
Right.
bigger about that. I would have been like, you need to not talk to me that way. You need to let other people ask questions. How does the business grow? And guys that were in that industry were like, oh, the meeting's going to go longer. I'm like, so that's why we have it. How
Right.
do I sell better? How do I do more? And I wasn't getting those answers. And, and I think business sometimes is still that good old boys club, but really like challenging that club, or,
Yeah.
if you're in an industry or even like kids in sports that, you don't quite fit in, challenge that status quo. Like, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to push back. Don't be afraid to take the chances. It's, when I was 25, I could have made, I could have started a company or done something along those lines then. I mean, I got my master's at St. Thomas, which gave me the confidence to do what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have had that then, but gosh, if somebody would have just said, try it, see what happens. I don't know. Why not? Even my husband's in real estate. Go buy a rental property. Like, even if you had to borrow the money, I would have been
Yeah.
more creative with that.
But you're here now and you're an inspiration to a lot of female entrepreneurs. So thank you for doing that. And I sincerely mean that. I try to have as many women owners on the show as I can. And I've loved having the Association of Women Contractor members on the show because everybody's had such great stories and such great success, yourself included. So, Erika, thank you so
You.
much for being a guest on the show and keep on keeping on, girl.
Yeah, you too, Julie. Thanks. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me today, and I can't wait to run into you soon again.
Well, see you soon, I'm sure. And thanks everyone for listening to our show, for sharing it, for making comments, for letting us know what you want to hear. We really do appreciate your listening and sharing, and we'll see you again next time.